Now, Kemba Walker had did a sit-down interview in which he discussed his knee issues and also him reworking his shot to be the three-point threat that we see today. Now, it's very important that we hear from the horse's mouth directly because as Knicks fans, we're still trying to figure out what exactly are we going to get from Kemba Walker today. Now, let's not forget we're only 2 years removed from him being a prize considered max free agent that teams are going after. That shit seems like it was a decade ago, but we're only 2 years removed once again. Now you guys check out this segment, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Last couple of years, you've been dogged by knee problems, and I was thinking about it a few days ago. I was like, and I remember thinking about this in the bubble too, and thinking, usually there's like a big event that happens when knee problems start. Like somebody falls into a player, they tear their meniscus, there's a surgery, and I'm like, I can't. Like, when did Kemba's knee start hurting? Like, what happened? What is the source of all this? So what is this? When did this start? Like, what actually has happened to your knee? How is it now? What was the starting point?
It's just over the years, you know, like I've had a couple knee surgeries back in the day, in Charlotte. You know, I think I want to say I had my first one in about 2015. Then I played a lot of games. Like in Charlotte, like I've played. At one point, I think I played the most games like straight. At one point,
and a heavy load on some of those Charlotte teams.
Yeah, and that's all it is, man. It's just I played so much basketball. I've had to do a lot throughout my career. You know,
it's a heavy load, definitely for sure. But keep this in mind: there's been very little playoff appearances in between that. I mean, you think of guys that do heavy loads, at least they're going to the conference finals. You know, they're going deep in the playoffs. They may be losing in the finals, etc. But Kemba Walker's had heavy lows just in the regular season, and it's taking a toll on his knees.
And I wouldn't change anything for the world. I had so much fun, you know, doing what I did in Charlotte. That's really all it is. You know, I just played a lot. I played a lot. It's a lot of years of me playing 82 games, not missing any games. Like, and I really took pride in that. I really took pride in playing every single night, and that's what I did, you know. And then, you know, I had a rough patch in Boston. I think I got sick one time. I think I had the flu one time. Not the first year, my first year in Boston, I got the flu. And then after that, it wasn't Corona at the time. It wasn't Corona at the time because I don't think it was kind of a big deal yet. But I got the flu, and then from that point on, I don't know, like my knee just started to bother me, and you know, just had a few episodes, and then we stopped the season.
That was tough, right? That was tough for a lot of guys.
Oh, that was tough.
It was definitely tough, but Boston, for some reason, they've been mismanaging injuries for a while now. You look at the Isaiah Thomas situation, and then once again it happened with Kemba Walker. There's something going on over there.
Super tough. That got me a little bit, you know, stopping, and then we had to go right into the bubble, which was tough. Then we had just a few months off after the bubble. Then we had to go into another season, you know, which was tough. So the last couple of years just been rough. Not on me specifically, but just on everyone, you know. So, and it happens, you know, guys go through injuries all the time. You know, I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. So, you know, I'm just trying to deal with it as best as I can.
How is it now? And like, what's a reasonable expectation for games this year? Do you want to play every game this year? Like, do you feel like you could?
I would love to. Right now, yes. My knee feels really, really good. You know, I've literally done everything I can to make myself feel as good as possible.
So far, Kemba Walker's played 3 out of 4 of the preseason games that we had. Now, if you look at the one preseason game that he missed, we only had 2 days off in between the games, and that's the one that he clearly missed. So I don't know if the Knicks are trying to ease him in or if that right knee is still not quite ready yet. But once again, we're still trying to figure out what exactly can Kemba Walker do for us today, and what are we getting?
And these guys, the trends over here are doing their best job to make me feel as good as possible. So yeah, I've been in every single practice. You know, I played in 2 preseason games. You know, I got some rest last night, obviously. But I'm ready to go. I feel good. I'm ready to get this thing started.
Now, one key concern of mine was when Kemba Walker got traded to OKC and how they dealt with him. It kind of said a lot, because keep in mind, OKC is a franchise. They're very wary of how they spend their money. They don't waste any money, and they don't like to spend too much. Now, remember when CP3 was in OKC, they did not want to give him a buyout. And Kemba Walker, when he got traded to OKC, he had a number of years left on his deal. And yet they gave him a buyout. And he's going to sort of explain of what was going on behind the scenes when he got there. It seems like they were examining him and just checking out that knee and seeing how it was like.
I was a member of the Thunder. I was, because I actually went down there. I was in Oklahoma City. I went to the facilities, met a lot of the staff members, and they were unbelievable in the time that I was with them. Like, literally unbelievable. They took such great care of me.
Now, players say that about Oklahoma City. What does that actually mean? Like, when you say they take good care of me, like, you get there, you're new, you're a veteran, you clearly don't fit the timetable, right? So, like, what does that mean? They pick you up at the airport, they help you find a house? Like, what does that actually mean?
So, for me, in my instance, is my knee, So, I go, as soon as I get traded to them, first of all, I get a call, and, it's Sam. He's great. He's great. Like, he's super honest. Doesn't sugarcoat anything, which is what I love. I don't want anything to be sugarcoated. I want to hear the truth, and I want to hear how you really feel. And he was 100% with me, from day one. And the training staff, when I got there, took great care of me. Like, they set me up with doctors. They gave me just basically whatever I needed to get my knee on track for the time being.
Now, it's funny because to me, they're just trying to figure out what's the situation with that knee. Because the Celtics seem like they kind of rushed Kemba back to the playoffs, especially in that bubble. Once again, the Celtics, they kind of now have a history of mismanaging players' injuries. You look at how they let IT kind of play himself out of his own career, and how they managed Kemba Walker, especially coming back in that bubble, as they felt the pressure was on for them to try to go after the NBA championship, especially due to the fact that at the time the championship was considered wide open because of that bubble atmosphere.
With them for long, I might have a month maybe, but for that month, like, I was on the phone with these guys all the time, like, and they were always calling and, hey Kemba, how you feeling? Do you need anything? This and that, and that's great. That's great. They didn't have to do that because, obviously they knew that I wasn't going to be staying there, so they didn't have to do that, but they did for the time being, and I respected that a lot.
Now, let's also keep in mind that the Knicks do have connections to OKC, because one of the people that's working under Leon Rose, Frank Zanin, one of the scouts, he used to work right under Sam Presti in OKC. So they do have a relationship there with that franchise. As you could look at our past two drafts, we have made moves and making swaps with OKC. Especially, I believe, in this year's draft, we made at least 2 swaps with OKC. So there is a relationship there, but you also got to ask yourselves, did the Knicks have inside information on what was going on with Kemba? Were they kind of involved in that buyout? Because they did give Kemba a little hefty price on that 1-year deal.
Boston, I don't know how much you want to answer this, but why is there something always just seems off in the water in Boston? Like, and everyone blamed it on Kyrie a few years ago. Then Kyrie leaves, and it's still it just feels like there's angst. There's a lot of angst all the time. Like, even Brad steps down, Darren steps up, Danny steps down. Marcus Smart missed a flight today. You had the thing in the bubble where there was like Marcus was screaming at people in the locker room and it got out. Like, why is there always something muddy in the water there?
It's funny how Zach Lowe asked that question, because a lot of the NBA media, I always say this, a lot of them are based in that New England, Boston area, especially with all those damn schools in Boston, just breeding all those writers, those beat writers, and those people who cover the league. Now, it's funny because Zach Lowe, he has a lot of history. He even grew up in that New England area, raised in Connecticut. He went to school, I believe, in Maine or New Hampshire. So he has a lot of history in that overall New England area. And I'm pretty sure he probably reps the Celtics. I'm not sure about that, but his background says he possibly does. But it's funny he asked that question about the Celtics because they've only really added Al Horford. They lost perimeter players like Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, but yet Vegas has them at 46 win total. And they have the Knicks at 41, 42 wins. That's amazing right there. I'm still kind of perplexed about that. I don't understand. Boston didn't do anything to improve, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum didn't really quite take the steps necessary to bring that team to the next level. And even when they did have talent around them, they were barely able to even defeat the Toronto Raptors after losing Kawhi Leonard. So the Celtics is still an unproven team. I still believe a lot of the NBA media, which is Boston based, is still trying to convince us that Jason Tatum is some sort of star that's going up to the next level. And it seems like they're doing more convincing than just fans overall reacting based off what they see on the court. But it is what it is. I just went off on a tangent for a second, but that's just something to keep in note, just keep in mind.
I have no idea, man. I can't really answer that. Like, I don't know. I am who I am. I feel like I am like the absolute most positive person there can be, I come in with a great attitude all the time. Like, I'm always smiling, I'm always uplifting, and my time there was great. I had great teammates. Like, I talk to those guys all the time, still to this day. Like, to be honest, I didn't know that I was going to be traded, and I even seen stuff like, oh, we had a mutual agreement on the trade. Like, I even seen like peaks. I seen something where they said people from my camp, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough battle for Kemba Walker to fight, because once again, a lot of the NBA media is based out of Boston, and they're going to say what they have to say, and they're going to create the narratives that they're trying to create. And it's hard to go against them. And you can look at what's going on with Kyrie. A lot of the hate that Kyrie gets is from the sentiment of how the people in the Boston area feel that how he left the team. So it is what it is.
I am who I am, and that's where I wanted to be, because that's where I was. I never wanted to be a guy who got traded. Like, I just not something I was even thinking about. So I can't tell you. I don't know.
And that's also a franchise that's in the middle of being in rebuilding mode, and they don't even know it. They got rid of the GM and Danny Ainge because of lack of innovation. He had all them damn picks, all them assets, and he still didn't make a trade for any superstar. He was kind of 0 for 3 on Paul George, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. Just no innovation from the Celtics at all. They're kind of stagnant. It is what it is. And they actually promoted their coach, who is actually unproven, and they actually made him the GM. I mean, he got the good coach label real quick, but he's really unproven even as a coach. But now all of a sudden he's supposed to be a GM managing personalities, when he clearly could even manage the personality between Kyrie, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. Now this season, it's going to be very important, especially particularly for Kemba Walker. If his right knee, it doesn't really provide him with the burst that he needs to attack the hoop, especially, to break down the defense to get other guys open. That jump shot is going to be really important for Kemba Walker, especially from 3, to space out that floor. So he was asked about his jump shot, and us as Knicks fans, it's good to get a overall background and understanding of how certain things came about, to give us a better understanding of what exactly are we going to get out of Kemba Walker today.
Now, at that time of your career, people would go under screens on you. Your jumper was considered a liability. And I've written this before. I think what you have done with your jump shot is the biggest and most radical transformation of any player's jump shot that I think I've ever seen. Steven Silas told me this story. I don't know if it was your pre-draft workout or you just got into Charlotte. He was an assistant there, and you were shooting NBA threes. And everyone's trying to like impress people at these workouts. Like, I'm just trying to. Even if you're struggling, you got to put out a tough, bravado. And you were struggling, and you went to Steven Silas and were like, "Yo, this line is far." Do you remember? Is that real? That's true.
That's real. That's definitely true. Yeah, because you know what? For my pre-draft, I was shooting NBA threes, but I was like in this little gym in Long Island. So I guess it just wasn't the same, So when I got there, I'm just like, damn, like this line is so far. But yeah, I mean, I'm a competitive guy, and I love to be in the gym. So I knew one day that the jump shot would come. I love to be in the gym. I've always been a gym rat. So yeah, and I like to have fun, and they gave me that vibe, as soon as especially Coach Silas, me and him connected right off the bat. So yeah, I definitely went up to him like, man, like this thing is far. Like I had no idea it was this far. That's a funny story, right?
But there's your jumper coming along, right? And there's the transformation from guys are going under on screens on me versus X years later, it's like, oh, we can't give him an inch of daylight from 25 feet out. Like did you ever think you'd get that far?
Nah. I mean, I feel like I would be able to knock it down, maybe like consistently shooting spot jumpers or something like that. But like, no, like off the dribble and some of the shots I've made over my career, like I even kind of surprised myself a lot on some of those shots. I'm gonna be completely honest, but I put the work in. I put the work in, man. Like every single day in the summer times, in the mornings before games, the next day after games, like.
And it wasn't easy.
Days.
It wasn't easy because the Charlotte coaches told me, we had to rebuild parts of his jumper. He used to shoot off his heels. We wanted him to shoot off the balls of his feet. And I remember, I don't know if it was Cliff or somebody told me, X months into that, he came up to us. He was like, "This isn't working for me. I don't want to do this." Yeah. And they had to send you. Yeah. They had to basically send you to Cliff and be like, "Go tell it to Cliff and see what he says."
Yeah,
right?
Coach Hetz. Yeah. Coach Hetz. I went to him. I was working with Coach Bruce.
Bruce
man. I'm shooting like I've been shooting this way for so long. My whole life I'm shooting this one way, and then Coach Bruce he comes and he's like, move the ball over, move it over. So, he got me shooting differently, and it's hard. I'm trying to shoot this way consistently all the time now. In the first couple months, I'm just like, can't. Like I'm missing too much. Like because before I actually met Coach Bruce, I had this feeling of myself like, okay, I'm ready to work on my shot and I'm ready to shoot the ball well this year. Like and then Coach Cliff is like, all right, I'm bringing in the shooting coach, Coach Bruce. He's gonna help you. I'm like, huh? Like, okay. So we're working, and I'm missing. And the season is getting closer and closer, and I'm just still missing these shots, and it's just bad. So I went to Coach Hetz and I'm like, Coach, I don't think I can't do this anymore. Like I'm ready to just go back to my old shot. Like I'm ready to go back to this old looking shot that I've had. I've been shooting this way for such a long time. I'm used to shooting this way. So he's like, don't talk to me, talk to Coach Cliff. So I went to Cliff's office. I'm like, Coach, like I don't think I can do this anymore. And he's like, nah. He's like, you know what? Let's make a deal. He's like, just give it a few more months. Like, just give it a few more months. Just keep working with Coach Bruce, and we'll just go from there. And I'm like, all right, that works for me. So, we kept working, and I want to say we played we had a game in Milwaukee early on that year, I believe, and I think I hit about 3 threes. I'm like, all right, like okay, a little something, And then we had another game right after that, I think in Miami. I think I hit about 4 threes. So I'm like, okay, this might be working. This might be working. And, it was all about confidence and, just repetition. And that's what I did, man. I worked so hard on it. And me and Coach Bruce were just always in the gym. And, I just started to believe in myself, believe in him. The confidence started to come, and I just kind of took off from there.
And we started to see the difference because if you look at Kemba Walker in between the 2015 and 2016 season, his 3-point percentage went up by at least 7% and has never went back down ever since. So it is what it is. Once again, we're definitely going to need Kemba Walker this season, especially if that right knee does not provide that burst. Because just watching him early in some of these preseason games, he doesn't have the same burst like he used to. And we're going to need him to space out that floor and be that 3-point threat. So it is what it is. This was a great interview by Zach Lowe with Kemba Walker. I'll leave the link down below. You guys should definitely check it out. Some great questions asked and just getting an overall background on Kemba Walker and what to expect this season.